morning, boys and girls. We have made it to week 4 in science. It sure doesn't seem real that we're still having to do online learning, but we are rocking it. You're all doing a great job keeping up with your assignments, so keep it up. So this week in science, we are looking at the planets. I will be reading 11.3, the moving planets, for you guys. Then, once we have read this chapter, you will go and watch a vocabulary on planets and complete a quiz and read and respond. So let's start out. Let's look at this chapter. It says, for thousands of years, people have watched the stars in the sky. They have tried to make sense of the patterns of the constellations. They noticed that the patterns of the stars stayed the same from one year to the next. But they also noticed something surprising. 5 of the stars gradually changed their positions. They called these the wandering stars or planets. Now we know that the planets are not stars at all. Through the telescope, the stars look like tiny points of light in the night sky. If you look at a star through a telescope, it still looks tiny. If you look at the planets through a telescope, you can see that each planet looks different. Some are small, some are large, some have rings. Today, we have photographs of all the planets. These were used taking cameras on board spacecraft which flew through space to take a closer look. So, if you look over here, we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So, which planet do we live on? Well, if you answered Earth, you are correct. And then which planet has rings? Well, if I look at all the planets, the only ones that have rings is Saturn. Now, what is a planet? Well, the Earth is one of the 8 planets in our solar system. A planet is a large object that orbits a star. Now, all of the planets orbit the sun. Each planet has its own orbit, so they don't all follow the same route, or it doesn't all take them all the same amount of time to orbit the sun. Now, planets do not drift off into space. They are held in their orbits by the pulling force of the sun's gravity. Now, we know that the sun is huge. We saw in a video from a previous week how the sun compared to other planets. So we know that the sun is huge. So it has enough gravity to hold all the planets that orbit it close to it, so that way they don't drift off into space. Now, the solar system, the sun and all the orbiting planets and their moons make up the solar system. So here is an image that represents our solar system. We can see that the sun is the center of our solar system and that all the planets orbit around it. And then my very educated mother just showed us nature. This is a mnemonic device that you can remember that will help you remember the planets. My very educated mother just showed us nature. Now, there are 2 types of planets. The 4 planets close to the sun, which are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, are the warmest. They are called the rocky planets because their surfaces are made up of rock. Now, the 4 planets further from the sun, that would be Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are big cold planets. They are called gas giants because they are made up of frozen carbon dioxide and other substances which are normally gases on Earth. But since they are further from the sun, they are colder. Okay, so if you're at home and you want to do this experiment, this would be a great to show you some orbits. So if you just have a piece of paper and you can get a nail or a push pin or just whatever you can to put in the center of your circle, and then just kind of draw an orbit around it. So you can see it gives you clear instructions on how to do this. This would be great if you want to explore it a little bit more. Miss Alvarez will be posting a video this week that will go over some experiment that is similar to this to the planets. Now, once you have listened to this book or you've read it on your own, you need to go and watch the planets video on vocabulary. It's going to go into a little more detail. Then you need to go to Canvas and complete this planets read and respond. Once you do that, you're good for science. Move on to the rest of your work. If you guys have any questions over the material, please let your teacher know. And I hope you all have a great week.